We are live from Johnny Donut Studios in beautiful downtown San Diego, and you're watching Mad Bomber Podcast. Okay, that's kind of how I felt on the way home Monday. Monday, I did go home Monday. Spent the night. Got to go to the Jaguar game with a couple of my buddies, and watched a pretty good second half for the Raiders offense. Pretty bad second half for the Raiders defense. I don't know what happened other than when I was looking at the tape today, it looked like Thomas Booker and Devin White were getting blown off the line all game. So we're not going to go much into that. I mean, an extra point, a 68-yard field goal, and a missed 2-point conversion, and there's your 30-29 Jaguars win. I don't ever like silver linings in losses. There's never a silver lining in the loss. But we had the trade deadline today, and there was something that happened, and we're going to talk about it. But first, I'm going to bring up on stage here this guy. I've been listening to this guy on the radio for years and years and years, and this guy is a Raider aficionado fan. When you talk about the Hall of Fame, Mount Rushmore Raider fans of knowledge, he's not one to come up and dress up and stuff. And I love everybody that dresses up. I think that's so cool. Fans think it's cool. And you know what? I think it's cool. But as far as the Raider fans of knowledge, this guy is just right up there. He's been a Raider fan so long. You'll see this is in San Francisco when he met Jim Otto, who he praises as the Raider, Mr. Raider. And this guy right here, his name is Raider 66. That's how I have him, and he'll always be Raider 66 to me. And here he is, straight from Las Vegas, California. What a dip! Las Vegas, Nevada, where there is no state taxes. So run, y'all. And here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Raider 66. What's up, Raider 66?
Hey, Johnny, how you doing tonight?
Oh, dude, I'm with you. So I'm doing great.
Hey, I'm with you, awesome. Man. I am so impressed at your background and the life you've lived is just so cool, man. I wish I would have been part of it. There you go.
That's you right there. Did you see you? You're sitting against the car. That's you back there.
That's you and Daryl Monica, man. That is so cool.
Look
right
at you
in the neighborhood.
Everybody goes, how can you tell it's you? I'm in love with him. Look at me. I'm going right now to him telling him, I love you. I love you. And then look at those bow legs. Nobody in the world has bow legs like that. That's me.
That's too funny.
Raider 66. Give the guys a little background on how you became a Raider fan, which was fascinating.
Yeah.
And what you think about the current Raider team, because we're going to go from closest to farthest right now. So tell the guys and girls at home how you became a Raider fan, because the story's fascinating to me.
Yeah. First of all, Johnny, thank you for having me on the show. I'm just blown away that people want to actually have me here. But I was worried about two things coming on the show. One, I'm 68 years old, so I'm not the most knowledgeable on this technology stuff. So I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to get the link and get on the show and you're going to be stuck with dead air. But, we accomplished that. The other one is I work for an airline. And so I'm on a podcast that's Mad Bomber Podcast. So I'm wondering if I'm going to be on a TSA watch list now.
Absolutely.
So but yeah, I became a Raider fan, just, maybe a little different than most people. I was born in South Dakota and knew nothing about sports. I was like a little nerd. I was always good in school, kind of book smart and stuff like that. Never interested in sports, didn't know anything about sports. as a matter of fact, if you had asked me, what's a quarterback, I would have told you it's the change you get back from $1 if you spend 75 cents.
Hold
And
on.
that's no joke. Yeah, that's no joke. But then my family in 1966, they moved to California. And I was a shy kid, nerdy and everything like that. And I'm trying to make friends in a brand new state, in a new school and everything. And I quickly learned that California, everybody's into sports. So I go, I'm going to have to figure this out. And first thing to do is pick a team. Well, we moved in August, so that's about the beginning of football season. And in the local paper, it was Lodi, California. You probably know where that's at.
Yes.
And in the local paper, they had articles on training camp of the 49ers and the Raiders. Well, they had the logos of the teams with the articles, and I saw that Raider logo. I'm a 9-year-old kid. You got a shield with a pirate and cross swords and the word Raiders across it. To this day, I still think that's the coolest logo in the history of logos.
Absolutely.
And I said, that's my team. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know if they were good, bad, nothing. I said, that's my team. And as it turns out, that was kind of the beginning of when they were going to be really, really good. So it worked out well for me. But yeah, I had no clue anything about them. So I said, okay. So people ask me, who's your team? I go, the Raiders. They go, oh yeah, how about, And I'm like, I had no idea who they're talking about. So I'm like, okay, I got to, do some study, some research. So I just kind of read everything I could, looked at all the newspaper articles, magazines, all the interviews and everything. And I was just impressed with the history, because when I started learning about these guys, I fell in love with them even more. I mean, a lot of people, may not know that they started with nothing. I mean, as opposed to the 49ers, they're like the glamour team there. The Raiders started basically with nothing. They were an afterthought in the AFL, as you know. Minnesota was the 8th franchise. They defected the NFL. So the AFL said, well, we got to pick another team. Well, Mr. Hilton, Paris Hilton's grandfather, was
Barron,
the owner,
right?
Barron Hilton. He was the owner of the LA Chargers at the time, that first year. And he said, you guys need to put that team on the West Coast so I have a natural rival, or I'm dropping out. So they said, oh, okay. So they chose Oakland. Oakland really wasn't, campaigning for anything. So they chose Oakland, $25,000. Here's your team. Well, they had no coach. They had no players. Berkeley was the only place suitable for a professional team. And they flat told the Raiders, you ain't playing here. So they had to go play in San Francisco at Kezar. But they got a coaching staff together. They were awarded the team on January 30th, 1960. Once Minnesota defected to the NFL, the players that they drafted in November of 59 got poached by CFL teams, NFL teams, and other AFL teams. As a matter of fact, Abner Haynes, all the old timers know AFL players. Abner Haynes was one of the greatest players in the AFL. He was drafted by the Raiders, by the Minnesota franchise, should have been a Raider. Somehow he landed on the Kansas City Chiefs, well, Dallas Texans at the time. How did that happen? I wonder if Lamar Hunt, being the creator of the AFL, had anything to do with it. So that's one reason why I hate them so much. But they had no uniforms. They used hand-me-down uniforms from the College of the Pacific, now UOP in Stockton, as their uniforms the first couple of years. They had no logos on the helmets. It was just a black helmet with a gold stripe on it until Al Davis got there. But they started basically with nothing. And they were awarded the team on January 30th. 6 months later, on July 31st, they had their first preseason game. How many years? It took like 18 months for the Washington to come up with the name Commanders. The Raiders had to put everything together in 6 months. It's amazing. And then they go out that first year and they go 6-8. They split with everybody except the Chargers. Chargers swept them. They go 6-8. I think Eddie Erlash should have been coach of the year, because nobody expected the Raiders to do anything, and they won 6 games that first year, and then the next 2 years combined, they won 3. So that I just love this team. They started from nothing, and now look at them. They are an iconic, world-renowned organization.
And then in the 60s, again, guys, this guy is Mount Rushmore.
No, Steve Mortara was Mount Rushmore, and we lost him. That guy was awesome.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Raider Mort was by far one of the biggest and greatest Raider fans, and that guy actually went to the games in 1960. 360.
Yeah.
That's the great thing. So then, do you remember the Raiders 1986 video? Don't you?
Oh yeah.
When
Yeah.
Al Davis came in 6-3, and ever since been on a spree. So Raiders 66. Let's talk about when Al Davis came in 6-3, and ever since then we've been on a spree.
Yes. Yeah, that was a great music video. It followed the Bears who did theirs in '85 when they had the Super Bowl shuffle, and the Raiders Silver and Black Attack. They released theirs before the season started, and then they promptly went on to lose their first 3 games of the season after putting out a video. But if you look that video up and get the long version of it, you'll hear Tom Flores rapping toward the end of it. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Whenever me and my brother talk, because my brother's now a defected Raider fan, and he'll call me up and I go, Matt Millen's my name, and I'm from Penn State. No circus on offense, the creatures I hate. So we go there. So let's go to 1963, Raider 66, and let's talk about when Al Davis came. How did he come? What happened? Who did he bring? What was the whole deal with Al Davis coming in 6-3?
Well, Al Davis, that's probably the best thing that the Chargers ever did is let Al Davis go to us. And Al Davis came in 1963 on the heels of a 1-win season. The Raiders in '62 had some bad luck. Tom Flores, the quarterback, had TB, not Tom Brady, but tuberculosis. So he's out for the whole year. I did
not know that.
Yeah.
So did he play, or who was?
No.
Or was he? So
he was out the whole year.
He was out
the whole year. So this is another reason why I hate the Chiefs. So the Raiders needed a quarterback. The Chiefs had just gotten Len Dawson, who was a free agent from Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And so Cotton Davidson was their quarterback. He was a fan favorite there. But he, out of the benevolence of his heart, traded Cotton Davidson to the Raiders to give us a quarterback for the Raiders' #1 pick that following year. Well, all Cotton Davidson did was lead us to 1 win, a 1-13 season. And so the Raiders had the #1 pick in the draft, and that now belonged to the Chiefs. They took Buck Buchanan with that pick, who's now in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So another reason why I hate the Chiefs. But Al Davis came there in '63, and he basically changed everything. The Raiders had no logo on their helmets. They were gold and black. It was their first year's uniforms. And then Al came. He put the shield on the helmet. He changed it to silver and black because he was colorblind, and those are the colors that he saw the best. So that was part of the reason for choosing those colors. But when he was a kid, he liked baseball. He loved baseball, and he grew up in New York. So he was a Dodger fan, a Yankee. He liked the speed of the Dodgers with they're running the base paths and everything, and he liked the power of the Yankees. And he said, if I ever get a chance to run an organization, I want to blend that power and speed. And that's what he did. When he first came there, he traded for Art Powell from the New York Titans at the time. Powell was like a 6'3". He was a monster. He was just a great receiver. And he also loved the vertical game. He loved speed, he loved the vertical game. And, his old mantras, we're going to take what we want, not what the defense gives us. That was all real stuff for Al. And what he did was opened up the offense that the AFL had never seen before. The running back, Clem Daniels, he had him going, not just doing bubble screens and screen passes, he had him downfield. Clem Daniels averaged almost 24 yards of reception that year as a running back. And Art Powell, that first year, caught 16 touchdown passes. That still is a Raider record for a season. And that was in 14 games.
14 games. And
yes,
he's actually up for the Seniors Hall of Fame.
Yes.
So, and I got a good feeling, and I've heard, not from somebody I know or anything, but I've heard from a lot of the writers that he's in this year, that he'll be.
Oh, that would be awesome.
He's going to be in, because Plunkett was taken off. I think the last 4 finalists, and we had a show about this, was Millen, Albert Lewis, Art Powell, and there was one other, Lester Hayes.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the 4 finalists. Okay, I don't want to deter you. Keep going, young man. Keep going. So
Yeah,
now, did Davis tutelaged off of Sid Gilman, from what I remember?
Yes.
And
Sid Gilman was
the
he
Chargers.
was a offensive mastermind, and Davis learned at his knee, and just he was kind of revolutionary, like I said, with the downfield stuff and the running back, and he had all of this stuff. What he did is he wanted a family atmosphere. He wanted pride in the thing, and that's why he came up with this commitment to excellence, with pride and poise, with all of these slogans to get the team, because in 61 and 62 combined, they won 3 games. This was a downtrodden team, and Al came in and won 10 games that first year, won Coach of the Year. And that was until, I think, the 90s. I think the Colts eclipsed it. That was the largest percentage increase for a professional sports team year over year in the history of professional sports. And Al Davis, from like 63, well, actually, it was over a 25-year period, they had the highest winning percentage in professional sports, not football, professional sports, the highest winning percentage. This guy, when you think about it, if you look, Johnny, you look at the records now, you look at, because I like when we're playing like the Broncos, I look at the all-time records with each other. And when you look at each team throughout the NFL, the Raiders hardly have any teams that they have a losing record against. And we know that the last 30 plus years, we haven't been very good.
No, we've been the losingest team in the last 30 years. Us, the Lions, and the Browns are the losingest 3 franchises.
Correct. So when you take that into consideration and you think over that first quarter century, how dominant the Raiders were, that they just now in 2025 are starting to have losing records against these teams. That's how much of a cushion they built in those years. It was just remarkable what he had put together. But Al Davis was just something. He wanted to be feared rather than respected, and it was just his style and his go for broke style. And when he became commissioner of the AFL, it was the same thing. I mean, he wanted to dominate people. He didn't just want to, win.
Right. And he was pushing for that merger. That was his baby too. He wanted that merger.
And he got no credit for it.
No, they never talk about it. It's still the
Lamar Hunt took credit.
It's the Lamar Hunt Trophy. You know what? I used to love it when he would win it. Thank you for the Lamar Hunt Trophy. It's like the Raiders, the great Raiders on the left. So I would say that 68 to 71, our nemesis was the Chiefs. That was pretty much it. And guess what? There was also a team from Baltimore with Johnny Unitas. That was pretty much another one, a thorn, and I wouldn't say a big thorn in our side, but we knocked them with, that was a knockout, drag out, it was very, very mini agonizer. The team that was always kind of our pain in the butts were the Chiefs. But then in the 70s, with the merger in the 70s, who do you think the Raiders' biggest pain in the butts were for the Raiders? Who was the team, like when you sat at home and the country sat at home to watch one Raider game, who do you think they were waiting to play?
Must-see TV was Raiders and Steelers. They still have the record for playing each other 5 consecutive years in the playoffs. And
we still have the record of losing those. Let's take a peek of that, because you know what? Because there was a lot of things that happened in those games. The Ice Bowl was one, and then we'll see one of them in this clip. Guys, grab your popcorn, open up your favorite beverage, and let's watch a little 70s Raiders football. Raiders versus Steelers. And there's one part, and there's going to be a test. And there's a test. See who spits on who. There's a test.
And this is not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart. Okay, if there's one thing in that video,
I cried at that, man. I was like
I did
13 years
too.
old, I think.
Yeah, I was 10 and I cried. I did cry. Okay, out of that video, what's the one thing that you love and the one thing that pisses you off that wasn't the immaculate, because that's just too obvious. There's a few things in there that piss me off. So we'll do a 1A on that one. What's the greatest one that you've seen? Let's go with the good first.
Well, I'm going to be, with the passing of the hitman, George Atkinson, I like the shots that he took on Lynn Swan. Those are some of my favorite. It spurred a lawsuit from Chuck Noll and the criminal element in football. But how many plays in there are legal today? I don't think any of them. I think they will all draw a flag. I guess that's my favorite, is just the hard hitting 70s football was just awesome.
Yes. And David Freitas has a good point here. Early 70s Dolphins. I mean, I would say what we went in 73, we played the Dolphins. And that was it. That we got shelled. Our defense got destroyed. Zonko ran over us. Kick ran over us. Great point, David Freitas. But I'm going to go back to that video that we just watched too, and talk about when the play. There was a play that makes me mad was when Jack Lambert tackled Stabler. That was the first one. You could tell which one was the 76 AFC Championship game and the 74 AFC Championship game. 74, there was not those red, white, and blue streamers around the field. So in 74, that's the 74 when Lambert took Stabler and threw him to the ground, similar to what Fatso did to Rich Gannon. A little bit.
Oh God.
And well, yeah, that was just a horrible one. That one pisses me off to this day. But that was after that. The Raiders were close in that game. That's a game they lost to. Pittsburgh went and won their very first Super Bowl title in 74 against the Vikings. But that was after that, he threw him down to the ground. He twisted him and threw him to the ground. That's when Stabler started having those knee problems, was right about then. Yeah. And that's when they had the George Anderson knee thing and that. But the rest of that game, Stabler was crap. And that was a tough game because I thought, remember, that was after the Sea of Hands. We had everybody was going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl. Yep. Steelers are in our way. We're going to finally get them. And bam, the next 2 years we get jacked. So we were
Johnny, the hit on I think it was Blunt who kind of spiked Cliff Branch into the turf. That one I didn't like that either.
No, and that's when they were talking about the criminal element when Chuck Noll got his little panties in a bunch. That was in 74 was when they slammed him down. And in the Raiders back then, God, I wish they had that attitude now. Remember, these guys didn't make millions and millions of dollars. These guys, Ben Davidson was actually a insurance salesman at the end of the year, because I know I lived right by there. I mean, Virginia Madden had a bar. I mean, it was like that's where everybody had. And if you Dublin people are out there watching, you'll remember that was where all the Raiders would go, is to that the bar, which became Brendan and Company. Anyway, these guys played for pride. And once that happened to Cliff Branch, it was all going on. I mean, the other fun one I loved watching was when Sistrunk grabbed the ball from Bradshaw and he's running, and they're like, Bradshaw's trying to grab. It's like, come on, man, really? So that kind of was that was a little bit of a well, I think that was 74. Yep, Dan Batesville was 74. I'm just saying that those teams right there were our nemesis. And then it was kind of the end right there before the 80s. We had a transition period. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I talk about a little bit about the series here, because early in the Super Bowl era, And everybody talks about, remember, was the last year, the Chiefs three-peat.
Yeah.
I got so sick of that. I never heard the word three-peat so much. Everybody loved the Chiefs so much. The Raiders were involved in several three-peats at the early stage of the Super Bowl. The first one, obviously, was the one that doesn't count because Lombardi's first win in '65 was before the Super Bowl. But they won the three-peat. They're the only ones that have done it when they beat the Raiders in '67. Then the Dolphins had the shot at the three-peat. We beat them in the Sea of Hands game, so we ended that three-peat. A couple of years later, the Steelers were going for a three-peat. We knocked them off and actually win the Super Bowl in '76. Then a few years later, the Steelers going for another three-peat. We helped prevent that, I guess, in part because we beat them during the regular season, so they didn't make the playoffs, and we won the Super Bowl again in '80 as the wild card team. So the Raiders have been participants and have foiled several opportunities for teams to win those three-peats.
Yeah, and then Gruden's last year, that was a little bit not Gruden's last year, but his first year, we knocked the Chiefs out of the playoffs at the very last game.
Yes,
that was when we came into our own. So talk about the AFC West.
Yeah.
You're a big AFC West aficionado. Let's roll down memory lane and you say what you want to say. This is your show.
Yeah, the AFC West is really tough. I mean, everybody, I think all divisions, I guess, have that to a certain extent, is that it doesn't matter what the record is. I mean, when you're playing the Raiders, Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, and vice versa, anybody can beat anybody on any given week because there's just so much history there. I mean, they all go back to 1960 together. The only ones longer, probably like the Packers and Bears, so, stuff like that. But it is always so difficult to win. And everybody knocks each other off. Right now, the Chiefs have got the Raiders number. The Raiders have got the Broncos and Chargers number. And it just continues from there. But in the 80s, yeah, there was a little bit of a transition. The early 80s, the Raiders, winning Super Bowls in '80 and '83. So they're still fine. It wasn't really until the 90s. I think that, I don't even want to bring it up, the 90 AFC Championship game against the Bills.
Yeah, 51-3.
Yeah, that was that kind of set them down a little bit, and the Chicago Bears in '84, they say that they knocked the bravado out of the Raiders in that toughest game ever played, or nastiest game, hardest hitting game ever played. Even Mike Ditka said it. I don't know if you remember that '84 Bears and Raiders. Quarterbacks were getting knocked out left and right. They knocked out Mark Wilson. Plunkett was injured, so he couldn't play. So Mark Wilson's in there. He gets knocked out, goes to the sideline, has his bell rung. So nowadays he wouldn't even be allowed to come back in. So David Humm comes in. He gets knocked out, a couple of teeth knocked out. Wilson comes back in. Wilson hits his hand on somebody's helmet, has to go in for x-rays. Humm comes back in. He gets hit so hard that they tear the ligaments in both knees. It's the last time he ever plays in professional football. So Mark Wilson is in the locker room getting x-rayed, and one of the techs comes up and goes, "Do you guys have another quarterback, a third string quarterback?" And he goes, "No, not really." He goes, "Well, you better get out there because they just knocked out your other guy." The story goes that they wanted Ray Guy. He was the emergency quarterback. They wanted him to come in, and he refused because it was so hard hitting. So Wilson goes back in, and the Raiders got sick and tired of it. So somebody plants a helmet on Jim McMahon's back, knocks him out of the game. At halftime, he's peeing blood in the locker room, comes back for one play, goes out, doesn't play again the rest of the year. And it was just brutal. And guys were going down left and right, and they didn't, because McMahon got knocked out, they didn't actually have the Super Bowl shot until that following year in '85. But that was the beginning of when Buddy Ryan had all of his guys together for that 46 defense. That was a great defense.
That was a great game. I was at that. It was in LA, and it was was a monster game. It was like, and we were in the stands wondering because we didn't know who was going to play quarterback next. Somebody actually said that somebody said that Van McElroy would have been the one of the choices because he had run an offense before. Don't know if that's the truth or not, but we'll definitely that game right there. Great that you brought that up. I would like to ask you, what do you like about today's games, and what do you hate about today's game? How it's transformed.
Yeah, it's definitely different. To give you, here's a point. Here's a bar bet that you can win. Whoever's not listening to the show, or if somebody's listening to the show, don't do the bar bet with them. To show you how much things have changed. From 1967 to 1976, 10-year period, your buddy, Fred Biletnikoff, caught at least 40 passes in every season. That was an NFL record to catch 40 passes 10 years in a row. Nobody had ever done it before in 1976. Now, you go 8 games into the season, people have 40 catches.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy. So that is the change, which will bring me to one of the things I hate about today's game. But it's that wide open, type of game. I'm a defensive guy. I like hard-hitting defense. I'll take a 10-7 game and just people getting beat up, and a tough running game. Yeah. So the offense is nice. It sells tickets, but as they say, defense wins championships. So
that's in the Raiders video too.
Yeah.
So do you remember this guy?
Yeah, he's the equipment guy.
No, that's Bob Zeman. He was the defensive backs coach.
Yes.
Bob Zeman. On this guy kind of moved into my neighborhood, and we talked a lot. He was crazy. What do you hate today about the NFL?
Today's game
thing that bothers you?
Yeah, the thing that bothers me the most is the tush push, man.
What?
They need to get rid of the tush push. It needs to be banned. Yes, this play.
Okay. So check this out. Stop. So the Vikings tried to defend this way, but who was the first one that tried to do that?
The tush push play?
Where they see how they have the linemen set to the side?
Oh, yeah.
And who was the first one to do that? Wasn't it Chris Jones? In the Super Bowl there was the Chiefs tried to do that, right?
They tried to stagger and I mean, because people are trying to do different things, and you could see if I watched the Super Bowl replay, and you could see after one of these tush pushes, they had a shot of Chris Jones on the sideline, and he's like flexing his shoulder, flexing his neck and everything like that. It's going to create injuries, and there's a whole history behind this. I don't want it banned because the Eagles are so good at it, and I hate the Eagles. I don't really like the Eagles, but it has nothing to do with them being good at it. It has to do with the history of football, and that it's one of the tenets of the game that you don't assist the runner. Back in 1905, you know who else was really good at the tush push or these mass movement plays? Yale, Harvard, and Princeton in the early 1900s. In 1905, they were so good at it, it was basically unstoppable. But what happened is, because the NFL hadn't even started yet, so these are all colleges. They didn't have the protective equipment they have now, but players were not just getting injured, they were dying. There were like up to 20 players dying a season in the 1903, 1905s. And the public wanted to ban football. It was going to be like backyard MMA. They wanted to ban football, but President Roosevelt liked the game. And he said, we got to fix it. So he got the best college coaches together. And we're talking about Amos Alonzo Stagg. We're talking about Walter Camp, all those guys. And he said, you guys need to fix this or they're going to ban it. So they got together and they changed rules. They liberated the passing rules. At one time, it was a penalty for an incomplete pass.
You shit. I didn't know.
Can you imagine that today? So they liberalized the passing game. They made it, only so many players could be on the line of scrimmage. And these mass movement plays, they got out so that you couldn't assist the other player. You couldn't push him, you couldn't pull him, you couldn't pick him up and carry him. That was illegal. It was one of the fundamentals of the game, and that lasted for 100 years. And then in 2005, because what it was starting to happen is you had these plays out in the peripheral where, you know, like little bubble screens and stuff, and then players would come and crash into the group and move them forward, and the officials were having trouble officiating those plays. They said, well, you know, is the guy coming up to block the defender, or is he coming up to push the ball carrier? So they couldn't officiate it. So the NFL said, okay, we're going to take the word push out of the rule. They opened Pandora's box. And somebody should have Mike Pereira on their show, because he was the vice president of officiating at the time, and he's well aware of the reason why they did it. It wasn't so they could institute a tush-push play. It was because they couldn't officiate whether the guy was blocking or not. What they should have done in the 1950s, the NCAA rule book had something, paraphrased a little bit, that you couldn't push, pull, or lift a teammate, nor could you crash into them to aid in forward progress. So if you just rewrote the rule that simply, they would have avoided what they got. And I remember when they changed it in 2005, and I said, oh my God, I said, this next year, they're going to have people at the 5-yard line just pushing the teammate into the end zone. Well, that didn't happen, thankfully. And I'd kind of forgotten about it until about 15 years later when the Eagles started doing this. And I'm like, this is what I was afraid of 15 years ago. And it wasn't so that you could design a play to push the guy in front, because there's obviously no way that you're not going to be able to see that the guy's being pushed. It needs to be banned because fundamentally this is not allowed. They wanted to differentiate themselves from rugby, and this was one of the ways to do it. And if the Eagles' offensive line is one of the best in the league, and if the quarterback can squat 600 pounds, why do they need the extra help? Do the quarterback sneak. You don't need to put somebody behind there, because you have this advantage. That offense, any offense would have the advantage. Why can't the defense do the same thing, Johnny? Why can't the defense, if the defense touches the guy in front of him, it's a penalty. If you put your finger on a guy to try and aid in blocking a kick, it's a penalty.
Right. Why? Right. Let's watch this, because this is another thing that they're trying, that, you know, when you have all this mass men together, it's hard for the officials to officiate it.
Right.
So this is what I think is going to get rid of this next year. You know, I think I know that the Packers were way into getting rid of this, and now it seems like everybody's on board. But let's watch this. I mean, look at this. Boom. These guys are moving before and that's a false start.
And it's not
Here's another one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're moving.
Look.
Way before.
Look. That ball's not snapped.
Nope.
There.
Nope, still not. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just and that's ironic, because they were allowed that opportunity because they couldn't officiate whether the guy was being pushed or blocked. And now, hopefully, because they can't officiate whether the guys are moving or not, they'll take it out. But it's just something that, and the Packers were a bunch of idiots, man. The way they wrote the rule was so stupid. It was like the one that they did before. It was almost the same as the one that they did before, where they couldn't tell whether the person was being blocked or pushed. So right. I don't want to put tush push in, and I wouldn't have voted for the rule that the Packers had. It was stupid. But I said, you know, hey, if somebody knows Mark Davis, tell him to get in touch with me, and I will go to those NFL meetings, and I will explain the history of it and why it should not be in there. It just shouldn't be. And if you're going to allow it, you know, then let the defense stack up too. Can you imagine Vita Vea and a linebacker pushing behind him in the A gap and blowing up every play? I mean, they wouldn't just be doing it during the tush push plays. They'd be doing it every single play, and they'd be destroying everybody.
And then you would go back to 1905, and we got fist fights.
Correct. And that was my point. That was my point I was referencing before. It's ironic that in this wide open passing era, that you want to go back to the early 1900s and get a mass movement play, and that's the big deal. It's just crazy.
So now I got you for another 19 minutes. So I'm gonna, because he has to go work tonight. That's called 4-letter word. Work is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
So,
I start work at 3:30 in the morning, so I gotta get up about 1:30.
Oof.
Here's one for you.
Here's one for me.
I am a big Raider fan, and I joke that maybe I am their number one fan, because most fans, will follow their team. Like the Raiders have moved around a lot, so the Raider Nation has followed the team, no matter where they go. I have the blessing that I grew up in Central California. I moved in the early 80s to Southern California to go to college. A few years later, the Raiders followed me down to Southern California. I graduated college, knocked around a little bit, and then moved back to Northern California, and eventually ended up working with the company that I'm with now. A few years later, the Raiders moved back to Northern California. Then I transferred to Las Vegas for my work. And I figured, well, there's no way they're ever going to follow me here. But I joke that, because I moved out of state, it took them a while to find out where I was. And then $750 million helped them, and they followed me to Las Vegas. So I have been, I think, the only person that has benefited from never having the heartbreak of them moving away. They've always moved to where I'm at. And I think that is so cool.
So with that, guys, this is something that just came up, and we have a GoFundMe page to get Raider back to Oakland. Raider Sticks is going back to Oakland. I have a GoFundMe page. I have a GoFundMe page. You guys figure it out. We'll talk about it later.
That is classic.
And look at Rudy. Rudy came in. Rudy comes in hard all the time. Best memory ever. 17 Bob Trey 0. Marcus Allen running through the night. Oh, so we have some time, and you know what? We'll talk about the Raider team we have real quickly later on. Talk to me about the Super Bowls, because I'm sure you have some great stories about the 3 Super Bowls. So you are on, Mr. 66.
Yeah, the Super Bowls. I think of the Super Bowls, what could have been, because the Raiders, as you well know, from 67 to 77, appeared in 9 AFC championship games in 11 years. They didn't make the playoffs one year. The Immaculate Deception cost them one, and the other 9 years they were in the championship game. They could have been the Yankees of the NFL. They could have won Super Bowl. They could have won 9 of the first 12 Super Bowls. That's just crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, the memories there. The Super Bowl team. The first one was Stabler is special because it was the first one, and I remember when they beat the Steelers in the championship game that year, and they were talking to John Madden in the locker room, and to hear his voice, he's like, "We're going to the Super Bowl," like it was a dream and never going to happen. He goes, "We're going to the Super Bowl," because they were so close so many years, and it was just agony for us Raider Nation, and then they just dominated the Vikings, and that's the thing I think of about the Raiders, is that when they got to the Super Bowl, it wasn't even close. I mean, they just kicked the crap out of the teams.
All 3 of them weren't close. Yeah, all 4 of them, all 5 of them weren't close.
And I think about the teams now. They like the Chiefs. Oh, it's the best dynasty ever. I'm like, really? I go, you guys are winning all these games by like 3 points. But the first one was special because it was the first one. The second one because it was the first wild card team to win it. But the third team, Super Bowl 18 against Washington, that team I think is one of the greatest teams ever. When you think about it, Washington that year, they were 14-2. They lost 2 games each by a single point. They set the NFL record at the time for most points scored in a season, and their defense was so dominant that they had, I think it was like a plus 60 in the turnover department. They just killed everybody. And then the Raiders go in there. They played during the regular season, a great game, a lot of big plays in that game. But Marcus Allen didn't play; he was hurt. And a guy by the name of Mike Haynes wasn't even on the team yet. They traded for him later in the season. So when they got to the Super Bowl, they had Haynes and Hayes. They were probably the greatest cornerback duo in the history of the NFL.
I'll say yes.
And they shut down that record-setting offense. They won 38-9. They won on every level. I mean, Washington could not take any shred of positivity out of that game. They just got thoroughly destroyed. And that 38 points is still the AFC record for points in a Super Bowl. It was tied by the Chiefs, unfortunately, against the Niners a couple of years ago. But it is still the most points scored by an AFC team in a Super Bowl. And when you think about it, the 70s was ruled by the AFC. They won 8 of the 10 Super Bowls that decade. The 80s was dominated by the NFC. They won 8 of the 10 Super Bowls in that decade. You know who won the 2 Super Bowls in the 80s for the AFC?
Let's see. One would be
1980 and 1983.
Would be the Raiders.
That's correct. So they were, to me, they're the dynasty. Somebody put out a chart, Johnny, of the greatest dynasties in NFL history. There's 10, the top 10. The Raiders, I think, came in like number 7 or something like that. But when you look at the dates, the years of the dynasties, they had the Cowboys in there, the 49ers in there, the Packers in there, the Chiefs now, the Patriots and all that stuff. The Patriots and the Raiders had the longest one. I think it was like 18 years their dynasty ran. I think the Patriots were like right behind them, like 17 years, something like that. But when you look at the years, the Raiders dynasty coincided with like 6 of the other top 10 dynasties. So they were great at the same time of a bunch of other great teams.
Would be like the Dolphins. Wouldn't be the Dolphins.
The Dolphins was another one. Yes.
Steelers.
Yes. Steelers.
The Steelers would be the Cowboys.
Yep.
I don't think the Niners
because the Packers, because they were right at the beginning of when the Raiders were starting to be good.
Yeah, because the Packers were crap after 72.
Correct.
They were crap.
That mid-60s, they were the dynasty, and that's when the Raiders started getting rolling. So there was like either 5 or 6 of the top 10 coincided with the Raiders dynasty. I call it a dynasty. They only won 3 championships in those years, but they were right there, and everybody that beat him in the championship game went on to win the Super Bowl, with the exception of those stupid Broncos in '77, which they shouldn't have won that game.
Well, the Captain Jack's talking about the Lytle fumble.
Yeah.
So
exactly,
the great story is I was golfing with Phil Demmel. Me and him and I were at the golf course. I forget what it's called up in the Oakland Hills. And we were a twosome, and then we saw Clarence Davis and Jack Tatum. And I've already told the story on how we got to the threesome. But anyway, I didn't ask him any questions at all. I was just I'm like, I was looking at Daryl LaMonica. I was like, oh my God, this is so great. So we got to the 17th, and Jack Tatum sinks a nice putt, and I go, hey man, I gotta there you go, Danny Pearson, our resident Niner fan. I was gonna play our resident Niner fan at the end. Here you got to love this guy. This is
Chabot. Yeah,
take pride in being a spoiler, boys. Something to hang your hats on, I guess. That kid is an a-hole at sometimes, and I love him. Oh, there Chabot, it is.
I think Chester managed.
Chester was a manager or president or something.
Yes.
Anyway, so we get to the 17th, and I'm waiting for the right time to ask the question. And so I I go, we get the 17th, and he goes, I go, hey man, I got a question for you. And he goes, well, here it comes. And I thought he thought I was going to ask about the certain hit. And I go, I need to know. In 1972, I cried, did you hit the man or did you hit the ball? He goes, I hit the man and the man hit the ball. And Clarence Davis is like, yeah, man. And they were talking, they were like talking about the play. And I'm just like, holy crap, these guys are going off. And then I go, shit, what about Rob Lytle? Because that was another one that Captain Jack just talked about. And remember Tatum hit Rob Lytle, and then Mike McCoy was on his way for a touchdown. Yep. MC McCoy. And where did he come from? He came from the Packers. So anyway, so Mike McCoy's running for a touchdown, and all of a sudden there's a whistle. So I was laughing my butt off because remember, these guys did not make any money. And Clarence Davis goes, yeah, that effing Rob Lytle from a man cost me $35,000. And I go, and a ring. And he goes, and $35,000.
That's right. That the playoff money was a big thing back then.
Oh, heck, that's why they played so hard.
Exactly.
So it was like great. And then the story started pouring in. And so I didn't want to bring in the hits because I didn't want to go there, with Jack Tatum. And so I asked him, I said, hey, man, I remember your rookie year. And I go, what was the highlight of your rookie year? He goes, 104. And I was like, there you go. Oh, Raider 66 got a phone call. So while Raider 66 is replying, because at the Mad Boomer show, this is what happens to boomers. So and I was waiting for a possibility. So let's watch this while we wait for him to come in.
Just became my favorite player. That's it. That's it.
Quick pass is caught. Go to the shore.
So, guys, that was a little bit of fun right there. If we don't get Raider 66 back, I'm telling you, look at us, loves the music. Bowers, Jenny, nice foundation. And since we did, we'll go ahead and do a little business right now. If you don't know, and I'm sure you do because everybody that's hanging on is a big Raiders fan. Jacoby Myers is gone. He went to Jacksonville, and I think that's probably a good deal. We got a 4th and a 6th for him. I don't believe that Jacksonville's going to be a player this year. They barely beat us. I mean, that team they're a mess. They're pretty much a mess. Hopefully it's going to be a higher draft choice. And again, the Raiders, he just didn't want to be on the Raiders, and I don't blame him for that. He wanted to go find some money. I don't know if the Jaguars will be that team that gives them the money, but with a 4th and a 6th, I don't know if you're going to package that together with to get yourself a quarterback or an offensive lineman. But guys, what I don't want to see is Ashton Genty end up like, and look at my new Ashton Genty jersey. I don't want to see Ashton Genty end up like Josh Jacobs, where we never got him the proper protection up front. You just saw a team in our division. We just saw a team in our division, the Chargers. First thing they did is get Joe Alt, who's hurt, but they did it the right way. They already had Slater. Then they went ahead and got Mekhi Becton. We're going to be over 111 million, 100 million. Hey, Brian, you need to get on YouTube, dog. But yes, we have 10 picks next year. Next year, we're going to have like 119 million under the cap. And if they're smart, we just saw Brock Bowers. Okay. So why wouldn't we get our offensive line dialed in? And there's holes on the defense, and I get it. And I get that we need a linebackers badly, because right now, last game, we had Palomau playing the linebacker. Basically, that's what we did. And it's kind of we're thin. We're thin at linebacker right now. The Bergs, Lindenberg, and the kid from Ohio State. Those guys are more of the old school middle linebacker guys. We don't have anybody besides Devin White, who seems to be making more and more and more and more stupid plays. I mean, he really ruined. He got blown off the line this last week, and I don't have film, and I'm not going to show it. Are you in Vegas the week of Thanksgiving? But if we are smart, we go get the tackles and the guards, because we're going to lose Dylan Parham. He's going to be gone. We're not going to pay him for being inconsistent for 4 years. And Jordan Meredith, are we going to put him back? I don't know. I don't know if Jordan Meredith is someone I would put back at center. Again, the Raiders need to put somebody in. They need to get offensive linemen. So we don't need to do Ashton Genty like we did with Jacobs. So now there's going to be a new thing on my show. Harry, let's see Husk. All we need is O-line that can handle the ball to AJ. I agree with that 100%. Starts with that. Starts with that. It really does. It does start with that. So today we're going to do pictures from the game. This is Brian. Brian was at the game last week. He's a full contributor to the show. That was an awesome picture right there. Love that picture. This is going to be pictures from this weekend. I went to the dark side with Dave Freitas. I went over to their tailgate and had a great time. It was unbelievable. You talk about, and that's what Darth Raider and the Sith have. That was fun. This picture's from me and Uncle Al met Henry Lawrence right by where we stand at the top of 246. Come on by and say hello to me and Uncle Alan. Uncle Alan will buy you a $2.99 hot dog. I guarantee it. And then lastly, here's my favorite picture. Look at that. What's that, fellas? Come on, guys. Come on, you Dublin people. That's the official, unofficial sponsor of my show. And those are great. I had the best donuts there. I bought a dozen apple fritters. But guys, I will be doing my show this week. The Oracle and I will be coming on immediately after the Broncos and Raiders game in Denver. We will be coming on. We will be breaking down the game. And Miles Prize on the Izzy. We will be breaking down the game. We will not have a show on Friday. But next week, Raider Roundtable. Today was a treat with Raider 66. What a great show. This has been one of my favorite shows. I love Raider 66. I've been listening to him for years and years and years. And when I got in contact with him, I was in heaven. We actually talked for 2.5 hours. This guy is like I said, Mount Rushmore. There is really very, very few guys that know more than Raider 66 about everything Raiders and everything that has to do with the Raiders and surrounding the Raiders. We could have went into Wayne Valley Talks, if you know who that is, and you guys would have been blowing your mind. But we will be on right after, again, Thursday, immediately after show, the Oracle and I. And then on Tuesday, we have Raider Roundtable with the shit-talking Souzas. I've invited Cody. I've invited Nicholas, Jake, Matt, Jesse, and Kyle. And we all have a different opinion. And not only do we have a different opinion, this will be a PG-13 to an R show. So if you're going to watch it, I'm just letting you know right now that it will be amazing shit talking the whole time. So I've got an open invitation to the Souza boys from the other side, from my brother's sons. And then my sons are guaranteed to come on. So it's Souza Boys Roundtable next Tuesday. That's when we will officially be doing the next show. But again, we will be doing the show after the game against the Broncos. Do we have any comments real quick before I go? Is there any comments about who's going to win? I'm going to be honest with this one right now. I think it's going to be Denver 27, Raiders 13. I'm with you, Johnny. Johnny's a great Raider fan. Johnny was at the Kansas City game with me. He came on the round table. I hope we beat the Broncos. That would be nice. But if we don't beat the Broncos, it's got to be It's got to be competitive. It's got to be competitive. We cannot get a 31-0 shellacking, because as I watched that game on Sunday in person, it felt like paper cuts the whole time. The Bronco D looks great. They look really, really good. But that defense the Raiders put out there on Sunday was like paper cuts, 5 yards, 10 yards. And the Jacksonville wanted to give it away. They kept having stupid penalties like we did and stupid interceptions. The guy hits a 68-yard field goal. It was just tough. It was paper cuts watching the defense. Everybody on the defensive line played bad. Everybody. So don't give me your Max Crosby played a good game, because he didn't. I watched the film. He had a couple of good plays, but Travis Etienne made him look silly at least twice. The Malcolm Kuntz project is over. I am so over Malcolm Kuntz this year. I don't believe he can get any better. He didn't set the edge. He's slow. He looks like he's got cement in his shoes. And yes, give me a birthday win. Miles Fry, birthday boy. But yeah, that was paper cuts. The Chiefs game was really bad paper cuts. 12 play drives, 13 play drives, 8 play drives, 7 play drives. And that's what I call the paper cut drives, because it just takes you and it keeps your offense on the sideline. And that's why I was okay with the way Geno played this weekend. I thought he played well. And the second half, the first half, he looked like he needed to get going, but so did Trevor Lawrence. And there's a lot of other quarterbacks that don't look good in both halves. So tonight, I appreciate everybody coming on. Can we get an applause for Raider 66? That was so much fun. That was great. So we will see you, Raider Nation, after the game on Thursday. Okay, guys? Let's see. Well, Raiders are getting Danny Batesel. Say hi to your mom, Miss Batesel. The Raiders need to get acclimated to that 6,000 feet. So we will see you. We will be in our homes watching the games, and we will see you after the game, roughly 7:30, 8:30 on Thursday night. All right, let's go, Raiders. It would be nice to win. I'm hoping. I hope you are too. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, and we will see you Thursday after the game. Good night now.
Now it's Siani to the left. Biletnikoff to the right against Marsalis. Back is Lamonica. Throws for Biletnikoff. Touchdown Raiders! Biletnikoff Petkoff is having words right now with Marsalis. Fred caught that ball after quite a physical battle with Marsalis in the right corner of the end zone. He went on out of the end zone, and then instead of slamming the ball into the turf, he ran back in about 10 yards to where Marsalis was and defiantly slammed it in the turf in front of Marsalis. The two tight ends are lined up as tight ends. Back goes Darrell to pass. He's looking for Smith, but instead goes down the middle. Chester, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo, what a great call! 19 yards and a Raider touchdown to make it 22-3. Chester had gotten free at the 5 and was all alone in the end zone 2 yards in. The Chargers now have a brilliant opportunity to put this game away. Here's Williams to the left, Garrison to the right, flanks right, Charlie Smith out to the left as a wingback, leaves only one back to block, that's Hubbard. LaMonica back gets fine blocking, now he throws down the middle, Branch at the 20. Branch at the 18, tripped up, keeps going, reverses to the 15, he's at the 10, he dances down to the 9-yard line. First and goal to go Raiders. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and hang on to your hats. Branch is still in. He goes to the right, slotted inside Biletnikoff. 5 defensive backs in there. LaMonica gives to Smith, sending him to the left. He's got Upshaw in front. He's at the 5. He's at the 2. It's a touchdown Raiders! Charlie Smith from 9.5 yards out. Oakland has gone in front. Clarence Davis is in for Charlie Smith. He's a deep threat on pass reception. Back goes Stabler to pass, steps away from the rush. He's going to run up the left side. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10,